The information contained in this video is intended for educational purposes. We are not responsible for any damage to your device resulting from improper disassembly or installation. Proceed at your own risk.
Today we're going to remove the charging port from an iPhone 6. If you need parts, tools, or directions for reinstalling the port, check the video description or the end of this video. We'll start by making sure that we have the power turned off on the phone. And in a moment, you're going to notice that I switched out phones here. This is an organizational layout that you can use. Magnetic mat also works well. There are quite a few screws in here that you want to keep in order, so make sure that you have some method of keeping track of what goes where. Down here, we'll start by removing the two pentalobe screws from the bottom of the phone. You can remove the entire screen if you choose to. If so, there's a link in the upper right-hand corner that shows the complete removal of the iPhone 6 screen from the phone. In this video, I'm not going to take it all the way off because it is possible to perform this repair as long as you can stabilize the screen after you lift it out of the housing, which is what I'm doing at this point. So just take a thin pry tool and very carefully go between the metal housing and the frame that goes around the glass of the display, and then we're going to lift it up, and then you'll see I switch to another phone here. Once you have the phone opened up, you want to either remove your display after you disconnect the battery, or at least stabilize it. We don't want this thing flopping around because any stress on these cables can cause a problem. So what I'm going to do is use a roll of tape. You can just put this around the outside of the display, and that'll keep it from falling over too far. From here, I'm going to zoom in so that you can see a little bit better. Down here at the bottom, we have several screws that we're going to remove. The first one we're always going to start with will be the battery. So in order to disconnect it, we need to remove this panel here. Remember, you need to keep all of these screws in order. They are different sizes for the most part. So it's very important that you keep these organized, because if you start mixing up screws, you can have all sorts of problems. So we'll take these two out first. And of course, if you already know this part, go ahead and skip ahead. I like to use my nylon tweezers to remove this panel. It usually comes right off. Sometimes it'll be sticky underneath. And once we do that, like I said, we want to disconnect the battery before we do anything else. So you want to be real careful here. Get a small pry tool and just get underneath right here. And just lift very gently, and that should pop right out. Once it does, it kind of folds over this direction. Now we have several screws that are going to come out, and it looks like I might have been inside this phone earlier, because this is part of a piece of adhesive or something that I added, so yours won't have that, I wouldn't imagine. Now the next thing we want to do is just go ahead and disconnect this cable down here. This is the flex cable for the charging port. And if you want to determine whether or not your new charging port is going to solve your problem, you see there's a little bit of adhesive here, and you just very gently peel that over. At this point, what I would recommend you do is take your new charging port and plug it in here, and then very carefully reconnect the battery, plug the port into a power supply and see if it powers up the phone and if it's charging. If so, then you can proceed with the repair. Otherwise, if you go through the trouble of removing all this and the port that you're putting into the phone is either defective or that's not the problem that you have, then of course you're wasting your time. Now, assuming that it does work, we have an antenna wire that we need to disconnect over here, and these things are very small. They don't give you a lot of room to work, but if you go in right here and just very carefully lift up, you want to get under the metal part if you can, but don't dig in there too far, because there's a lot of things that can get damaged if you're not careful. I'm at an awkward angle here, so I'm going to go like this and just keep the board in place and just very gently lift that up. And then we want to move it out of the way. In fact, it's okay right there. Yours probably had a foam pad on the back of this part, but this phone has been disassembled before, so you're going to see a few things that look a little bit different. Those are probably the only two. So we're going to have a screw here, 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 and here, and these will secure the speaker. And I'm going to begin by taking those out and putting them in order on my, oh, looks like we need to magnetize. If you have one of these, they come in very handy. That way you can get the screw and just lift it up. So here we have one, That one does not want to stick. And I think we're going to take this out eventually anyways. I don't think we need to just yet, but I'm going to take it out because it's going to help my organization somewhat. That's going to come out. Now, one thing to watch out for here is that when you get to this part, watch out for this little clip. It goes around the antenna wire and it kind of fits into the speaker. You'll see what I mean here in just a second. We are going to very carefully, let's see if it'll lift out this way. It usually won't because it's going to be tucked under the board over here. So I'm going to just lift that up a little bit, but don't go too far just yet, because I wanted you to see how this cable goes into this little clip, which will come out that direction if you pull on it. And of course, if you're changing the port, you're going to have to do that. You can kind of get a look at how that works. And that routes the cable underneath, just like that. So, well, there you go. It came out. So here's what we have. That little piece right there is going to probably have to be transferred over to your new charging port because they generally don't come with these small pieces unless you get lucky. So we've still got 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 screws that have come out. I'm going to do the buzzer next. This is a very straightforward replacement if you ever have to replace the vibration unit on your iPhone 6. Assuming I can keep my hand steady. There we go. All right, so we've got 2 screws. Reach in here, and you'll see how the motor interfaces with these 2 contacts on the charging port. Those 2 little springs right there are going to make contact, and that's what makes your phone buzz when it's on silent. So we'll go ahead and take the rest of these out. Now, the port itself and the headset jack are going to have to slide this direction in order to come out, and we're also going to have adhesive underneath here. So you want to be careful about this. If for any reason you don't want to damage the port, and it's always the best practice to try not to break things when you're taking them apart, because you just never know when you might have to put it back together. Oh, and that is unusual. This part doesn't generally just fall out like that. But it did this time. So this piece kind of sits just like that. We will come back to that during the reassembly. It's a lot of screws, but it's not really that complicated as far as repairs go. Fortunately, we do not have to remove the battery on this one. And we don't even have to lift the board up. Not that you had to on the iPhone 5s, but previously they kind of had this corner tucked under the logic board. I never really liked that. So you see there is a panel here that comes off from on top, sat there. Now, 2 things. One will be the adhesive that we need to address here. And secondly, we will have 3 things really. The headset jack, the lightning port, and this microphone likes to stick there just a bit. So I'm going to put some heat. If you don't have a heat gun, you can use a blow dryer, but it will take a lot longer. You want to get this up to a temperature where it's warm to the touch, but not so hot that it'll burn your hand. I like to shoot for about 100 degrees or so Fahrenheit. Your phone can easily withstand 100 degrees Fahrenheit. If not, you would not make it through the summer. So I'm going to move this out of the way, and then I'm going to very gently peel this. You shouldn't have to peel very hard, because if you do, it's very easy to tear this cable. You see I'm just very slowly lifting it. I'm not going to go too far either. I just want to get the majority of this unstuck. You'll see underneath what's holding it down. And I'm going to go to right about here. This is going to start lifting up. Let's see if I can get my hands out of the way. And then we're going to have just a little more adhesive there. And then you'll see if you just pull it this way that the port wants to come out, at least this time. However, be very careful because if you're trying to preserve this, once again, there's adhesive there where the microphone is located. And if you don't pull it away first, it's very easy to tear. And my tweezers are not going to make it in there. So I'm going to take a slotted driver and just go inside because this is adhesive we're working against. Don't need to push very far. Just want to make sure that it's not attached anymore. And then this one, you can do the same thing. Just gently lift it. It's going to kind of slide over there to the side. At least it should. Or you can even go this way. And we've got some adhesive under there holding it. So you see it kind of pops out there. Pay attention to this little rubber gasket. You're probably going to have to transfer that over to your new part. And then we just have the microphone and probably some residual adhesive underneath. You can see the mic's not moving, so it is stuck on here pretty well. Some more heat. And let's see if we can get in here. And that's going to start coming out, I think. There you go. You can see the adhesive peeling away finally. And there we have it. So your new part will look something like this. It's usually flattened out, and there should be some wax paper here on the back that you peel off to expose the adhesive. And remember, if necessary, you can transfer this little piece. Yours might already come with it, but that's the majority of the repair. From here, I'm just going to put it back together. All of the parts and tools used in this video will be linked down here in the bottom of the video description. If you have any questions, please place them in the comment section. I will do my best to answer them if possible. And if I do not answer your question, it probably means that I do not have the answer, but hopefully someone else will. If you found the video helpful, like it, share it, check out my channel for more tutorials and product reviews, and most of all, remember to hit the subscribe button. Feel free to leave your feedback in the comments section, and thanks for watching.